Hey Carly,
Yeah.
what is worse than 1,000 babies nailed to a tree?
Gee, I don't know. What's worse?
One baby nailed to 1,000 trees.
Hey!
Baby, what's the deal? You wanna watch Netflix and chill? Baby, I'm for real. I won't pull out if you want the pill. Baby, what's the deal? You wanna watch Netflix and chill? Baby, I'm for real. I won't pull out if you want the pill.
We are back. The pilot episode of Netflix and Chill has been released, and it seems like people liked it, so we came back for episode 2. I am JP.
I'm Carly.
And we're back chilling on the couch for Netflix and Chill episode 2. We're covering Shelley from 2016. It is a Denmark and Sweden co-production.
Yeah.
And the tagline is "Inside an Evil Grows."
True.
True. Yeah, it is true. Before we get into the actual film that we're going to be discussing, we did do something pretty cool tonight. Carly, what did we do?
We went to the movies and we got to see The Thing in theaters. Not just The Thing, but John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah, so The Thing is a personal favorite of mine, probably in my top 5 horror films of all time. And you, this is the second time you've seen John Carpenter's The Thing?
Well, let's not get carried away here.
A while back, I told Carly to watch The Thing. She bought it. She told me she watched it, and then I asked her about it, and it seemed like she had no idea what I was talking about. So, care to confess?
I was watching it on like an old shitty TV in my living room, and that's when I still lived at home, and my mom kept walking in, and I just wasn't really paying attention. But in my head, I thought, oh, I got the gist of it. As it turns out, I had no idea what that movie was about until tonight.
And you thought it was what?
It was awesome.
Exactly. John Carpenter's The Thing is a classic. I gotta tell you guys, me and the 22 Shots guys had always been asked, questions on the show. And one of the questions we got a while back was, what classic horror film would you love to see either in a drive-in or a theater? And The Thing was always near the top of my list. It's very cool to say that I now knocked one off of the list, another one off of the list. I've been doing this like crazy lately. It's really, really cool. It really is such a different experience to see a film that you love, that is not new, that's an older film, a classic, to see it in the cinema, in the theater. It's just a truly awesome experience, and I had a blast watching it. And it goes by so fast. I just love that movie to death. And, even to this day, I mentioned this after we watched it, that film, when I watch it, I still don't know who the Thing is, when they're the Thing. It's just brilliantly written. The script is, airtight, and it's just an awesome experience. Did you finally see the greatness that I was talking about?
Yes, and it was cool seeing it in theaters because, it was almost like seeing a new movie to me, like old to you, new to me type experience. And the effects looked amazing on the big screen. They were like gross, and yeah, I just loved it. I give it a 10 out of 10 actually. Yeah,
I give it a 10 out of 10 as well, and it really does hold up. And to see it on this gigantic screen, guys, I'll tell you, man, it was so cool. So I have a couple more films on that list that I want to get knocked off, but every time I knock one off, I'll probably add a film to that list. It probably start out with stuff like Phantasm, and I've seen Phantasm now, and I've seen Halloween. I still need to see Texas Chainsaw on the big screen, but there's a few that have definitely been knocked off, and I still need Texas Chainsaw is probably the biggest one that I want to see.
I would love to see that too.
Yeah, so there is a possibility with the classic movie nights at this theater that we go to. They do it every Wednesday. It's not horror only. Next week, get this, guys. They're doing Resident Evil. Yeah, Resident Evil for classic horror night.
The guy
movie night.
The guy hosting was even like, yeah, people were kind of pissed that we considered this a classic, but I didn't pick the list, so.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, it was Underworld. Underworld, guys. Underworld. And he's like, yeah, we didn't have really a good turnout for Underworld, so.
Like, The Thing, Underworld, like, what do you expect?
Like, I know Kate Beckinsale, isn't that who is in Underworld? She's, hot and stuff, but I mean, come on. Like, you got Mila Jovovich and Michelle Rodriguez in Resident Evil, but at the end of the day, like, those films are not even close to being classics yet, and probably ever, considering they're not really highly regarded as good movies. Not that
respected, really.
Yeah. So, it's weird with the classic movie night thing. We've now seen 3 there. We've seen The Shining, Psycho, and The Thing, which is really neat. Obviously in October they do a lot of horror films, 4 weeks of horror films, but we just kind of got lucky and they did a horror film here in the middle of January. But I'll keep an eye on it because anytime they do a horror film, I'm going to try to go. Not any horror film.
Yeah. We don't want to spoil it by just seeing any piece of shit there. But
it's a cool thing. And then we got that other drive-in, that other place that we go. It's a drive-in that does a big show every April and September. Their April show is always much better than their September show. But last year we saw Lost Boys, Monster Squad, Near Dark, and
Fright Night.
I
keep forgetting that one too.
Yeah. Which is weird because Monster Squad was like the least enjoyable. Even though I like Monster Squad, it's just, it didn't fit with the other 3 really. They should have had Vamp there instead. But obviously 80s vampire theme. But yeah, so we saw The Thing, really cool. Just wanted to let you guys know that because I was pretty excited about that. That was a pretty cool thing that we did today. But before that, we went out and ate at a place called Burgatory. And dude, I was so sick feeling from this milkshake that I got. I don't really ever, I can't even tell you the last time I had a milkshake.
Yeah, I don't even like milkshakes really. I just wanted to get one just to be cool because that's what you get there.
That place is kind of known for, even though it's called Burgatory, they're kind of known for their milkshakes as well. It just killed me, man. I was just like dead feeling, and I ate like, it's almost like poutine. You guys from Canada might know what that is, but it's like gravy fries with like cheese and stuff. And I ate like not even half of them. Yeah. And I was so sick feeling. So, that was quite an experience. I didn't let it ruin John Carpenter's The Thing, but so this is episode 2, like I said, so we are actually going to move forward with the show. It will be a bi-weekly podcast as of right now, and it will be focusing on Netflix reviews, but I am not going to completely limit it to only Netflix. We'll also cover things on Hulu and Shudder and other streaming services. There's plenty out there. There's tons of them out there. Full Moon streaming. There's even more than that. I can't really think of them offhand, but they're definitely out there. I think like there's one called like Scream something or something like that.
I don't even know them all.
Yeah. So that's something. Even though the show is called Netflix and Chill, like we're not going to call it Netflix and Hulu and Shudder and Chill. You know what I mean?
comma.
So it's called Netflix and Chill. Netflix is definitely the most popular streaming service, but Amazon Prime, Hulu, stuff like that. If there's anything on there, we'll potentially cover that. And, I want to thank everybody who gave us sort of feedback on the first episode. That was very kind of you, Jason Lloyd. Thank you for hosting the show and pushing it on the top 10. That was very nice of you as well. Thank you for the kind words saying, you think we have good chemistry and stuff like that.
It motivates me to keep doing it because I've never done anything like this before.
Yeah, and you were
thank you.
You were quite nervous on your first go, but you settled into it pretty fine. So you'll get better as it goes. you were kind of messing with me a little bit about 22 Shots and how you thought that you're kind of hating a little bit on the early episodes, which yeah, they definitely are not the greatest. And I tell people that anytime they're like, "Oh, I just started listening to you. I'm going to go back to the back catalog." And I'm like, just don't
lose the respect.
Yeah, don't lose the respect for us. We get better. It might be. It
wasn't terrible. It was just like the way, like, you could hear background noise and all that.
It was just unprofessional.
It wasn't like it was just a bunch of guys goofing around.
But it got better as time went on. And yeah, so thanks everybody. I mean, if you guys have any suggestions, any sort of ideas or anything like that, just drop a comment, hit me up. You guys know where to find me. And I'll pass the message along to her, and we'll discuss it. But please keep giving us feedback, because that's very important to me, as always with any show that I do. And it's even more important for somebody who's new at podcasting to hear the criticism and sort of different ideas and things like that will help her out and continue for us both to get better. So the film that we picked tonight, actually, this is how we're doing this, is we're going back and forth. So I picked the first one, which was Baskin, and she picked tonight's film, which is Shelley. One more thing before we get into Shelley, though. I know that this is primarily an audience that will be like Americans, because Netflix works different in different territories. So like the movies that we have, Australians might not have them, and vice versa. And that goes for all the territories. So I actually toyed around with a little bit of ideas on maybe how to incorporate a little bit more to help sort of the, like foreign people to us. And if anybody out there is listening from Australia or the United Kingdom or France, I don't even know if you have Netflix in France, or Canada or anything, and that you have a different movie or something like that, I would be very interested in potentially playing audio clips of reviews from other territories as well. So if anybody, wants to be like a sort of unofficial, third member of this, I would surely, be open to either, hopping on Skype with you and recording a little segment for an episode, or, you just sending in an audio clip, reviewing a film or something like that. I think that would kind of make the show a little bit more, I don't know what the word would be, just it would have a further reach. At the end of the day, we are just reviewing movies that anybody can see, but it's kind of a...
Make it fair.
Yeah, it's the concept is the shit that's on Netflix, but at the end of the day, it's a movie review. It doesn't matter, it'd be no different if we were just doing DVDs or whatever, It's still a movie review. It wouldn't really change the show that much. So that's something that I want to throw out there. If anybody can, is interested, just hit me up. If not, that's cool too. And yeah, I don't think there was anything else. Was there anything else that I wanted to say? You wouldn't know because you're not in my head, but
exactly.
Yeah. So, with that said, I guess we'll get into Shelley. There was one film that just popped up on Netflix. It was actually Sinister, and I almost sort of stole your pick and was like, let's just do Sinister instead. But we kind of thought that, well, we might do sort of modern film. Like, Sinister is modern, but like as new as possible movies.
And Sinister is like more known to people too.
Yeah,
like, these
it
would be
definitely
brand
is.
new, and not everyone watches these. So
yeah, but so I'm not guaranteeing you that we only do new stuff, but I think the primary focus is going to be on some of the newer things. Even though I really like Sinister, and I think that Sinister would have been a good film to cover on this. We decided not to do it. So your pick, Shelley, from 2016, is a film that I heard a little bit of a buzz about in sort of the end of the year list and stuff like that. But did you know anything about it before we watched it? You just...
No, I kind of just was looking through Netflix, and I saw, like, Shelley, and I usually like movies where the title is, like, a girl's name, it seems like.
Like May.
Like May, Grace, Carrie, Alice Kills, all those I think are great, because they always turn out being, like, weird and, like, original and something you wouldn't expect, so I thought, oh, this might be cool.
Did you know the original title for Alice Kills was just Alice?
Yeah, I think you said that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty...
So it's kind of, same deal.
Yeah. So, I mean, we try to go into movies blind, at least I do, so I didn't even read the synopsis to this one. I just looked at the movie poster, and the first thing that I thought was Rosemary's Baby.
Me too. That's another reason, because I love Rosemary's Baby. So I thought it might be along the lines of that. And I also think, like, films involving babies and pregnancies and anything like that are just, like, gonna be gross or weird, so...
Yeah, I agree. I that's kind of how I sold Grace to you. I just said it's like, it's just an uncomfortable feeling. I get really uncomfortable with, like, babies and pregnancies and that type of stuff in horror films. So, I did find the poster cover art very interesting and intriguing. So I was kind of down with this one when she picked it. But anyway, let's get into the synopsis. Louise and Casper, a Danish couple, live in an isolated villa in the middle of the forest away from modern life, technology, and even electricity. Louise's biggest dream is to become a mother, but she is unable to have children. She finally decides out of desperation to seal a pact with her Romanian maid.
Seal a pact? I was like, what?
Elena accepts to bear Louise's child as a surrogate mother in exchange for a large amount of money. I'm actually going to leave the plot off there because I don't think we really need to...
Yeah, that's like a huge thing. Compared to last, like, when we did Baskin, it was just like one sentence worth.
Yeah, so that's the IMDb description, which we will normally do. There was actually two, and I went with the longer one. Probably going to mostly go with the shorter one, just because, one, I'm actually, I don't know if you guys noticed, you probably did, I'm terrible at reading things. So maybe you should do that.
No, I'll choke.
You will choke. You're a choke artist. So continuing here, guys. My first impressions of this film, it opens up with a, like, nice, beautiful shot of, like, a lake and stuff, you know, this Danish, like, Copenhagen, I believe it was filmed in, landscape. And then instantly, like, right after that, it almost seemed like the quality of, like, the film, like, the camera changed. Did you notice that?
Yeah. Like, it was really good, beautiful shots. And then, like, when they get to the actual people, it seems... I don't know how to explain it.
What I would say it is color correction.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I feel like the color correction isn't that of what we normally see in movies. You know, like, there's a standard look to movies. It doesn't look like real life, right? It has like a darker, like brighter, like, you know, colors, and it just looks different. And that's done on purpose. And some films decide not to go as movie look with their color correction. So I think that's what it is. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know the technical terms for these things.
Yeah, so you'll get to learn that stuff a little bit more. But we have this girl. Do you know her name?
Elena.
Yeah, her name is Elena, and she is with Casper, the husband, and she's hired as a maid. And basically, they get to the house, and she's like, "Oh, I need to plug my phone in. It's about to die." And they're like, "Oh, we don't have electricity or like a TV or like running water or like anything."
And they're like, "Oh, but we have like a telephone, so you can just use it and you'll be fine." And I'm thinking, like, no, this girl wants to check her Facebook. Like, that's not the problem here.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's definitely, I guess, more hard for people to like the people that would be watching this now are probably like, Jesus Christ, you know? But like
sucks.
like I remember being a kid sometimes, and like I remember like the cable would get shut off or something like that, and it just was like there was no internet back then, and I was just like, huh, this is odd.
I know,
but like
that
this is a whole nother extreme here. You know, they're basically try to grow their own food. They have chickens. They have a vegetable garden and stuff. So she's kind of just doing a lot of work. And I don't know, did you get a sense that Louise, there was something wrong with her? Because there was that scene where she had to put Elena had to help her with socks.
Yeah, she seemed really like off in the beginning.
I was just kind of thinking maybe, like at first I thought maybe she had like cancer or something like that. But as the movie goes on, she seems like she's kind of normal after a little while. So I was thinking that maybe because she does mention that she lost a baby. Yeah. And I was thinking maybe she was like sore from that, or like happened very recently. Is what I was thinking. Yeah, because I was kind of confused. She did have surgery, so maybe she was like kind of weak from that or whatever. Because I was like, at first I just didn't understand why she was like that. But that's just my guess, because they don't really specifically say. So essentially, you know, they're this very old school couple. And not like old as in like old people, but like just traditional. Like they just don't want to.
They want the simple life.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like they're like overly religious or anything like that. They're just like don't give a fuck about society and like brain rotting TV. And they're not mean either about it. They're not like forceful of their ways, which I thought that's where the film was going to go at first. Yeah. But it didn't. Actually, this whole time I thought this film was going to go a very, very cliched and like normal way, and it kind of didn't.
I kept imagining it going in different directions. Like I kept making up my own plot. I was like, oh, this is going to happen next, but then it never happens. Yeah,
it's kind of, you know, unconventional in its, you know, storytelling and whatnot. But so after we see this, you know, them kind of bond a little bit, and she's like settling in. We get a little bit of backstory on her. She has a son, I believe. Yeah. And we find out that she had a bad relationship with the father. He kind of just bailed on her when she got pregnant and stuff like that. And we learned that the Casper and what was her name?
Louise
want a baby of their own. She can't have a baby. Her like uterus
womb got taken out or something.
Her womb got
something taken horrible.
Yeah, so she asks Elena to be a surrogate, and she thinks about it for a little bit and eventually agrees. And bad things start happening. She's starting to have weird dreams, and she's you know, got sores and bruises and scratches on her, and you know, that's kind of, you can't really say much without going into spoilers after that, and we are a spoiler-free show, so we can't really go into details. I guess we can get into our like thoughts on the film, and the first thing that I'll say is that it takes a while to get going.
Definitely. Especially when you're exhausted.
Yeah, we were both extremely tired, and it was just like a slog. Like, I was kind of interested in what was going on, because I was just like, I kept expecting it to go like a certain way. I was like, and there's even a point where I asked you, I was like, this is a horror film, right?
Yeah. Because you're like, my question is this horror?
Because there was no signs of horror, you know, other than just the setup of like, oh, this is kind of a creepy setup, like out in the middle of nowhere, no phone, there's a phone, but no electricity and things like that. Creepy weird couple who don't believe in television, you know, but it takes a while to get going. And the first little bit of horror is, you know, it's a creepy scene, you know, it's a little dark and stuff. I like things like that. Anything doing with like dead children, I'm down. I've always said that there needs to be more kid deaths and things like that in movies. So, you know, I'm down with that. One other, you know, thing besides it taking long to get going is, Casper and what's her name?
Louise.
I
I swear I didn't know her name at all throughout the whole movie, actually, so it's okay.
Like, Casper was easy because we just kept laughing that his name was Casper.
Yeah.
And it's like with a K, Casper. I feel like one of the biggest problems is that neither of those characters have very strong character development.
Yeah,
we especially Casper. Like, he like literally like disappears sometimes, and I'm like and just there's not much to know about him.
Yeah, it
like,
really is more like Louise and Elena like doing stuff together. You don't really see much of the husband.
Yeah, it's kind of just weird because he does become more of a key component in the third act. So it is weird that we don't really get to develop him much. There was also another scene. It seems like that there's certain characters that just come out of nowhere and they're not like properly introduced.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a slight little tad bit of sloppy filmmaking there, where it's just like you have to establish these characters. The audience gets confused if you don't at least like make it somewhat easier to figure out. Like, there was a scene where there was a group of people, like there's three people the entire movie.
It just cuts to the scene,
and then there's a group of people at the dinner table, and there's like a little kid who, to me, looked like her little son because she was looking at pictures, and he had blonde hair, and I'm like, wait, is that her son? But then like they didn't react like it was her son, so it was like, what? Like, so I will say a little bit of sloppiness there.
and also like to backtrack, like I don't know if I was just tired, but like I could have sworn the thing was she said something like she can't see her family because she doesn't have the money, and that's like the point of her working there. Like,
was it? I don't even remember
was like,
that.
That's the problem with this movie. I feel like it drags on and then it gives you questions, but you have no idea what's going on sometimes, and they're not answering these questions because when she asks her to be the surrogate, like, she's saying like, oh, it'll take me like 2 to 3 years to get the money to like get back to my son and parents or something. And then she's like, oh, well, you can just, if you hold the baby for 9 months, we'll give you the money. And
I did hear that.
I don't know. I was just confused because she keeps calling her family, and then that's kind of like the end of it then. Like, it's not that much.
Yeah, I mean, I would even like a little more backstory on her. Like, why is she here? How did she get this job?
How did she get there? Like, that's what I did not understand.
Well, I think Casper went and picked her up.
I know, but from where? Like, is she just in, like, another country or something?
Yeah, because
she just got a job there?
I'm pretty sure they speak, like, 6 different languages in this movie. So, it's kind of bizarre how that whole thing plays out. And another question that I was thinking the whole time is where the hell are they getting this money?
Yeah.
Did they say anything about their past life? Like, why they decided to do this? Like, were they wealthy business people? They saved up money and then they decided to live off the land?
No, they didn't. They're just living. It looks like they're literally just living in the middle of nowhere and not making an income at all. They're just, like, being simple people.
Yeah, I didn't understand how they would pay her. That was kind of bugging me because that feels like something that, you know, you never want those type of questions in your film, because then what you have is the audience thinking about these silly questions that could have been explained away when they should be thinking about or being invested in the characters in the film.
And it's got me worried that I'm not, like, paying attention or I'm missing something, too. Like, I can't tell if it's my fault or the film itself.
To be fair, there were some spotty parts with, you know, thick accents. So if you're not super
definitely
up on your Swedish accent or whatever, yeah, I mean, you might miss some things. But I think that I did a fairly well job at paying attention. I just hiccuped, by the way.
Good to know.
So yeah, I think that there was just, sort of a disconnect with some of the writing. I think they just sort of dropped the ball a little bit in certain sections.
Yeah, because I was definitely paying attention, even though I was exhausted. I was watching the movie and trying to take it all in. I was just really confused at some moments.
I will say that once you get past, I would say, the hour mark,
yeah,
it does sort of pick it up a little bit, and it makes it sort of a little bit more interesting, and bigger things happen. And honestly, there was a couple scenes that really saved this movie for me from being sort of a disappointment. I'm not going to reveal what my final thoughts are or ratings right now, but I will say that I was kind of low on this film until I seen a couple of scenes that I just haven't seen anything like that before. So there's definitely some dark and uncomfortable moments with the pregnancy, for sure.
Yeah.
I will say there was one missed opportunity where it has to do with the girl who is pregnant and sort of the means in which she's dealing with this. It's so hard not to spoil it. It's so hard not to spoil it. But the scene that I'm talking about in particular did not need to be shown, like, in terms of special effects. It just needed to be shown a little bit more, like sort of the beginning process of it. Like, you don't actually have to show anything, but like
you can't cut away completely though.
Yeah, and then go back to it. I thought that was a huge missed opportunity. And I thought that was just, especially when I see the scene that they did later.
Yeah.
Actually a little warning, guys. This is probably not a movie to watch with the kids.
No.
There's actually full downstairs shots, straight vagina.
Yeah, that was something I've never seen before, I don't think. In
a vagina?
No. I got one of those.
So you've seen plenty of vaginas.
No. You know what? No, you could just talk.
So, yeah, there was like, and it's not just like what the kids would call muff. You know what I mean? It's like straight, like you can see vagina lips.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was so... Like, it just felt like porn, basically.
Yeah, it felt like penetration. Like, I'm almost, like,
I felt that within me. Like, I was, like, disturbed.
Which, I give that scene an A+, because that's just something I haven't seen before in a film like this. So, that was pretty interesting. And then there was a couple more uncomfortable, like, cringy scenes. Like, Casper has a scene where, he's doing something that sort of is just like, whoa, like that's pretty hardcore, man. So there are a lot of great scenes like towards the end. The film does kind of just end though, and I'm usually cool with those type of endings, but I just felt like this one it wasn't.
I felt like it was like a really slow build up to this like final act, and then in the final act they tried to cram in all this. Like, all the creepy stuff, kind of. Yeah,
and one of the things is that it wasn't the long build that you just spoke of, wasn't what it should have been when you have a long build, which is character development and tension.
I don't know, it's weird. It does feel like a drama, kind of, more than a horror movie, because, like you said, you were like, I wonder if this is a horror movie. And throughout the movie, I was kind of thinking, like, is this supposed to be, like, an actual horror movie? Or is it just a movie with some creepy moments in it? I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah, I definitely feel you on that. That's what, at the end of the day, what it was. It was moments. Like, I feel like this film's intentions was to build tension.
Yeah.
Like, to build, like, paranoia and like sort of, have this sort of shock value type stuff at the end after you built up this strong sense of tension and dread. But I feel like the long time that they spend attempting to build tension and dread actually doesn't build tension and dread. And I think that's the biggest flaw in this film. It just doesn't work on all cylinders. It's not firing on all cylinders. It sort of just has a lot of great moments in it. I wouldn't say a lot of great moments, but definitely a handful of really cool moments. And those moments alone definitely significantly bumped my rating from where I initially was. Just because I just thought it was interesting what they was doing in the later half of the film. Like, I think the later half of the film, the final 30 minutes is actually a solid 30 minutes.
Yeah. Like, they kind of wasted their time with, they could have cut out some of the build-up or just made the build-up better. Like, I feel like they did not utilize their time properly or something. Yeah. 'Cause it's almost annoying. Like, you get your hopes up kind of thinking like, oh, this is going to be like a really creepy or good part. And then it's like, oh, no, they just dropped the ball again. It's like a roller coaster almost. Yeah,
there was a really scary moment at one point though where like the girl was just kind of standing there like in the chicken coop or something.
She looked like I thought she looked good. Like she kept looking worse and worse.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they did, I'm glad you brought that up because they did really do a good job on making, like, I even commented on it a few times where I was like, she's just all sorts of fucked up.
Yeah, it was like kind of like Rosemary's Baby where she just gets like more disgusting and just sickly looking as the movie goes on.
Yeah, definitely. I love these type of movies, the mother type of movies, like we mentioned, Rosemary's Baby and Grace, and all these films that have these sort of mother scenes and just concepts. I would like more. I would like more of these type of films. This one is definitely not the best. I'm not going to say like this is a perfect double feature with Rosemary's Baby.
No.
Like that, right? So, but honestly, like. It would probably go pretty well with Grace.
Yeah.
Grace is definitely the better film, but this one is, it's honestly not a bad watch. It just takes a while to get going, and it leaves you wanting a little bit more than what they gave us.
Yeah, it's well acted, and you could tell what they were going for, and. Yeah, I know. Like, it was just, like, I just kind of felt, like, bored at some parts, but at the same time, I was interested in finishing it. Like, I didn't want to turn it off or anything.
Now, there is some interesting sort of thoughts on what's actually happening to her and why.
Yeah, because
it doesn't flat out tell you.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of, I guess it's left up to the viewer.
Yeah, you're trying to figure it out the whole time.
I actually don't know. Like, I was kind of thinking about it, and I was thinking, like,
Yeah, I guess by the end, you really don't necessarily know what all went down there.
It's kind of ambiguous.
Yeah.
I'm curious if there is, like, a true answer, like, if the director thought, hey, this is because I've said this time and time again. I'm fine with ambiguous things as long as the director knows the answer. He doesn't have to tell us. He can keep that secret to his grave, but I need to at least feel like he has an answer for things.
Yeah.
I think he does in this case.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely kind of an interesting watch. I'm glad I watched it, but this wouldn't have made my top 10 of 2016 or anything. I think Moods actually said that this one was pretty good, but it didn't make his top 10 either. So do you kind of have any final thoughts on this one before we go into ratings?
I'd say it's a good movie. Like, it's slow, and don't watch it when you're tired. That's all I feel like it would have been much better if I wasn't exhausted the whole time.
Yeah, we were both extremely tired, and I was even like, I almost even nodded off at one point. I just sat straight up, like, out of nowhere, and then I was like, yep, I gotta sit up because I am about to fall asleep.
Also, I feel like the moments that were creepy, like, were effective. Like, it's a creepy movie. Like, it's not a, like, jump out and scare you type of movie, but it's got, like, those weird, creepy moments that I feel like I would think about later on and be like, oh, that was actually pretty good.
Yeah. All right, so do you want to go into ratings? So this is your film. You rate it first.
I'd say it's a little above average.
Okay, now is your average still?
No, I changed up. I know, I did the wrong last time. I'm just gonna go with a 6 out of 10 on this one.
All right, yeah, that's a very fair rating. I'm not too much different than you. I'm going to go ahead and come in at a 6.5 out of 10.
Whoa.
So just a half point above. I was really at like a 4 at one point in this movie.
I was at a 5 originally, to be honest.
And there was a few scenes that really significantly bumped up my rating. One of them was the like just straight up vagina fisting thing that happened. So
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed Netflix and Chill episode 2. 2 weeks from now, I will be back. You will be back with another film. We don't know what it is yet. Maybe Netflix will get some new stuff by then, and it'll be my pick. So looking forward to it. Leave us comments, questions, anything you want to ask us or talk about. Let us know what you think of Shelley. And I'm JP.
I'm Carly.
See you next time back on the couch.
See you.
Baby, I'm for real. I won't pull out if you want the pill. Listen up, all you little cuties. I might call you over for a movie, but all I really want is the booty. 5 minutes in, we'll be naked and spooning. Next thing that you know, we in my bedroom. Clothes hit the floor. The head was like, damn, looking way better than you do on Instagram. We tried to watch Forrest Gump. She said she was bored. Let's hum. I said, bitch, I gotta take a dump. Lit some incense, then we fuck. I called the renew, but we got 6 minutes for a quick little nooner. So thank you, Netflix, for the marathon of wet dicks. Baby, what's the deal? You wanna watch Netflix and chill? Baby, I'm for real. I won't pull out if you want the pill. Baby, what's the deal? You wanna watch Netflix and chill?